Hey, Editor Luana here. So I'm just sitting here in my car after work editing the video and realized when I got to the end of the video, I was literally calling everyone by the exact same name. So I had to do some like spotty editing and like voiceover. It's a little jarring. I tried to make it as least jarring as possible, but I literally was calling everyone like the same name, but they were two different people, and it was kind of crucial that they would be called the right names so that you understood what was happening to who. And yeah, I'm dumb, so enjoy.
Welcome back. Okay, so fair warning, yes, I went ahead and did some makeup off camera just to give myself a little extra boost, because I end up just not talking through a lot of this part of my makeup, and then I just have to edit like minutes of time off. So I just thought I'd get ahead of it, you know? Smart, work smarter, not harder. Okay, let's get spooky. Svetlana and her husband had signed up with their like local college to work with exchange students as like a boarding house basically, and it hadn't been in place for very long that their local university was doing this sort of thing. They were kind of new to it, but they kind of just like researched like what everyone else was doing and then did that basically, just going off basic guidelines, because it kind of like there's a few international laws, but really it just kind of comes down to the university and what they want to enforce. So they reached out to local kind of B&Bs and stuff to see if there was housing available with them. And Svetlana and her husband happened to run a B&B. They did get paid a small amount of money for taking in, but overall, they just kind of did it for them, you know? Like, they thought it would be fun. They went to the local university themselves. They were, you know, very proud of their town's university. This is a great way for them to sort of give back. Well, the new semester was going to start, and they'd kind of talked to the student that they were boarding a few times, but they hadn't heard a whole lot from her. Weren't really sure if she was going to be a friendly type, or if she was just going to be a, you know, focus on school and leave me alone kind of person. So they didn't want to reach out to her too often and make her feel overwhelmed. But they were kind of hoping that, you know, it'd be a fun opportunity to like meet people from different countries and learn more about them. They themselves had come to America from the Ukraine. So they thought it would be just, you know, really fun to meet people from other countries, gain their perspectives on what was going on. And especially, you know, younger people always have such an interesting and sometimes very opinionated outlook on life. Well, day finally came that their person was supposed to be arriving, so they went to go pick them up from the airport, and found out right away that she was very quiet. She was very reserved. They weren't sure if she was just really shy or if she was just scared to be in a whole new country. She was originally from Germany, and she was studying to be a veterinarian. That's really all they knew about her. She didn't really seem to be giving them anything else. And again, they just didn't really feel like they could really pry into her life. If she didn't want to say, they weren't gonna force her to say. Well, they helped her get in, and they helped her, you know, bring in her bags and all of that, and all the while she was kind of just staring at them, and they weren't sure why, what was going on. They decided not to make a big deal out of it. Svetlana asked her, if there was anything in particular that she would like for dinner. They had planned on making a stew, but if she didn't want that, they could change their plans. And she said, no, stew's fine, stew's fine. So they went ahead, they made the stew. She came down for dinner, grabbed her bowl of stew, and then went right back to her room. Svetlana was a little put off by that. Like, she kind of, wanted to get a chance to get to know her boarder, but also, like, she didn't really like people eating in the bedrooms. So she decided she was going to have a talk with her tomorrow, maybe, and just let her know, like, hey, we really discourage that. We have this beautiful, fully furnished dining room. We'd kind of prefer everyone to use that. Not in a mean way, trying to be as nice as possible, but hello. She came down. Svetlana had made a wonderful breakfast. Eggs, bacon, all that. And she took a piece of toast, and that was it. And she smelled it before she ate it, which Svetlana thought was very odd. It was just plain toast. Like, we had jars of jelly and stuff sitting out for her to, choose whatever she wanted on there. But it was just plain buttered toast, and she decided to sniff it like there was something on there. That was odd. So I didn't want to raise any alarms or anything, but so far her behavior had been very antisocial and a little borderline weird. But, they were excited to do this. And maybe she just needs some time to get to know them, like reacclimate herself. Maybe she had some sort of disorder that they didn't know about, like, Asperger's or something. And she's just a little socially awkward or doesn't pick up on social cues or something. Like, she didn't want to jump to a conclusion. But also, at the same time, she was acting real weird. Well, that day when she got home from class, Svetlana was like, hey, how was your day? And she just kind of stared at Svetlana for a minute and was like, it was fine, and then hurried up to her stairs to her room. Again, Svetlana was a little saddened. She was kind of hoping to, not necessarily make a friend, but create some kind of a bond. And so far, there was no bonding happening here. And well, that night, they could hear her talking to someone in her room. They didn't have any other boarders at the time. It was just her. So when she told her husband that she was in there talking to somebody, he immediately picked up the phone to see if she was talking to someone on the phone line, because if she called home to Germany without saying, hey, can I make a long distance phone call, that was not cool. But there was no one on the other line, so they were like, okay, so maybe she brought a cell phone with her or something. Her husband asked, well, have you talked to her at all? Did she say anything about, missing home, gonna call her friends tonight, anything? And Svetlana said, no, she will barely talk to me. I don't know what's going on. I can talk to her and she'll just stare at me like I have 3 heads. And then give me a simple reply and then leave the room quickly. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if I've said something that offended her. I was going to talk to her about eating in her room, but I haven't been able to get a word in with her at all. Well, that night, they, called her down to say, dinner was ready. And she came down, grabbed a plate, and started to go back up to her room, and Svetlana said, So she stopped and turned, and Svetlana was like, we really don't like people eating in their rooms. Like, we've got this whole dining room. We really would rather you sit in here and eat with us. Well, begrudgingly, she sat down at the table and, started to eat her meal. But the entire time, she was just staring dead at them, like uncomfortable eye contact. And after about, maybe 4 or 5 bites, she said, I'm full now, and just got up and left. Like, left her plate there and everything, so they had to clean up after her. So Svetlana turned to her husband and she's like, you see? Like, she acts like I've offended her or something. I don't know. I barely even talked to her. Like, how could I have offended her? Well, Svetlana was a little freaked out. She's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why she hates me. Like, I've done absolutely nothing to her. I don't even know her. She hasn't given me the opportunity to get to know her. Like, what could I possibly have done already that has her this upset with us? Well, her husband was as perplexed as she was, and he's like, I hate to say it, but there's something wrong with this girl. I can't pinpoint any exact thing that's wrong with her, but like, something ain't right. Maybe we need to contact the university and see if, like, what do they know about her? Like, surely they have to do some kind of background check before they let someone into this program, right? Like, what is going on? Well, of course, Svetlana agreed. Like, her husband made a very good point. Like, they wouldn't just let anybody into this program. They have to check them out, right? So let's call the university tomorrow and just find out what they know about her, because we're not finding out anything from her. She's not giving us anything. She acts like we've done something horrible to her when we've barely even talked to her. Well, the next morning it was like the same story. Barely saying hello to anybody, not wanting anything to do with anyone. Svetlana even asked her, like, have I done something? Like, I feel like you're mad at me for something. I don't know what I've done. And the girl just stared at her blankly and then backed out of the room. Didn't even say a word. So Svetlana contacted the university and was like, what do you know about this girl? Her name's Michelle. She's from Germany. We've been boarding her, but like, we can't get any information out of her from her. Like, she won't talk to us. She acts like we've said or done something to her. I don't know what we've done. So the university looked into it and they're like, we have an incomplete file on her, actually. We usually do background checks on people, and hers hasn't come back yet, but everything else went through, so they went ahead and put her through, it looks like. We'll let you know as soon as the background check clears, because that's very disturbing behavior. Have you considered maybe, here's some pamphlets for like the counseling center here. Maybe she just needs some help adjusting to being, so far away from her family or something. And so I was like, that's a really good idea. Like, I'll see if she'd be interested in that, but I don't. So that night, they again settled in for dinner, and Svetlana had the pamphlets sitting there on the table for her. I was like, I went to the university just to, make sure everything had come through for you, just, to make sure everything's above board. And mentioned that you seem to be having some trouble adjusting to being over here, or I don't know what's going on, but I feel like you need a little bit of help, and they suggested a guidance center just to, kind of help you adjust to being in America. And she just stared at her coldly. Svetlana didn't know what more she could do. She's like, I just want to help you. Well, that night,
Michelle
slowly crept down the house. She crept right into their room. The first thing that Svetlana could see was the gleam of something metallic in the moonlight. That's when she realized that
Michelle was standing over her. She said, Michelle, is everything all right?
Before she could say another word,
Michelle
had slashed her throat, and while she lay there choking on her own blood, she saw her go around the bed, push her hair out of her eyes, and then stab her husband at least 5 times. And then she just left. Well, unfortunately for Svetlana and her husband, the background check finally came in the next day, and the college immediately sent the police over to their house. Michelle, if that was her real name, had actually been bounced to and from several mental institutions. She had some serious problems, and they're fairly certain she faked all of her paperwork. When the police got there, they of course found the bodies of Svetlana and her husband, and Michelle was long gone. The only thing they did find was a note of hers saying, "They were lizard people and I had to kill them." There we have it, another spooky ooky video. I bought this like fake blood spray thinking it was gonna be like really cool looking, and then it really didn't like splatter spray, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of, I don't know. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was a little disappointed. So I had to like try and flick blood on my own, and that did not go as well as I wanted it to either. So it is what it is. This is the look. And I hope you enjoyed. See you for a super special Edgar Allan Poe reading, and then one last spooky ooky video. I hope you're ready. Ooh, goodbye.